Hello, my friends. The realization of the painting that will become the Gate of Ecstasy was very difficult, with many questions and more or less successful attempts. If there were only paintings, every version would be good. But my attempt to express, to represent something higher with this force that pushed me made the task much more difficult. Not all images are equal in this perspective. Only my intuitions and my connection with other dimensions guided me. 1987, I fiercely attacked this cosmic corridor which escapes me constantly. Between August and September, I painted 18 new versions. Always the same process. When I realized that it is not yet that, immediately after comes another version in my head, which each time the certainty that it is the good one. And Patras, it's happening again. The most critical point is the central part. How to represent this ball of 6 centimeters in diameter and its immediate environment. I then paint on small stretch canvas and even pieces of canvas simply fixed on a wooden plate with tacks, versions and versions of the centers. It's crazy the amount of possible combination of colors, material, radiations. I was more and more lost, asked all my visitors for their opinion, but they were unable to help me, and I felt like I was wading in a swamp. I am trying an experiment. If there is really something or someone who guides me, let him help me. I take a deck of cards, and each time a question arises about the choice of a color, about the way to apply it, about the density to give it, etc., I draw a card. If it's red, it means yes. If it's black, no. But after a few weeks of this little game, I realize that the result is aberrant and that I absolutely have to find it by myself. If I only could find a common thread. In May 1988, I placed all the versions of the narrow corridors around the room used for the demonstrations on the floor, leaning on the walls. I came up with 50 versions. It's madness. It is obsession that has pursued me. They threw me on all sides. I desperately hope by concentrating to find a solution, a way out. It looks like a huge labyrinth with a multitude of corridors. Where will I find the thread of Ariadne that will guide me to the exit? I am standing in a corner of the room. All at once, idea, like a comic book babble, an idea comes to me with force over my head. A book that I read a long time ago and that evokes my research. I went to get it, lived through it, and read the part that interests me. Very surprising. A first quick reading showed that I was not mistaken. The resemblance is striking with what I discovered. Later on, I would go back to it very carefully. More than just a coincidence, I would realize that this book contains the blueprint of the picture I am trying to assemble. He described it in operation. Only the understanding was not at all obvious. The plan was hidden, encrypted. I would understand then that it was necessary a key of decoding, and had already discovered it. It is the relation, music like electronics, that I had found in 1981. It had as a consequence to generate images and colors with centered and rigorous positions that I found under a much more pictorial form and all language in this book. It was amazing, huge, especially since this book was written long before digital technology was discovered, long before electronics, long before electricity. It is the proof that the prediction comes true and that it could only come true in our time. I decided to follow it because of its importance. It was very difficult to understand and sort out what I was using for this realization in this book. For years, I have not stopped studying this text to try to better interpret it. I was helped by many of the visions and also astray by others that I had misinterpreted. But most of the key elements, including our songs describing them, were found long before I began this reading. When I finally discovered the thread I was hoping for, the shock was strong. But because of what had been happening to me for the past 8 or 9 years, I was prepared and was not too surprised. This book was written almost 2,000 years ago. It is the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation. Apocalypse, a scary name, entered the common language as something scary. It even gave the adjective apocalyptic in the sense of a violent destruction of the end of the world. For a long time, I did not even dare to tell my visitors outside the small dreammaker group. Most people simply peddle this destructive meaning without ever having read the text. Those who read it generally skimmed over it, retaining only what struck them without trying to go deeper into what they were reading. Many misunderstandings have come out of it. It must be said that it is a very difficult text to understand. It is very mysterious and very difficult to read. Because of my research, I was led to read it, reread it, again and again for a very long time. It was really not easy to grasp, even with the mind thread of the work I was building. Certainly, there are many levels of understanding and many meanings simultaneously interwoven. I have discovered 6 of them. I focused mainly on the parts that allowed me to build the extasium. On the other hand, in order to delve deeper into the meaning, I read different translations. There are very few important differences between them. One in particular caught my attention, that of Andrei Shoraki. His particularity is to add many comments on the translation, on the importance to bring to teeth of that concept, on the ancient meaning, on the measures, etc. His work was very useful to me. In particular, he clarifies something that most of the many interpreters seem to forget. The description in Revelation should never be taken literally. As in other visions, instead of reading "it is like that," it should be understood as "it's something that makes me think of that, or that evokes me." It is always an approximation. With the experience of the many visions I have had, I can only agree. And finally, apocalypse, a word of Greek origin, does not have a negative meaning at all. It means revelation.